The world has become chaotic because we are no longer recognizing the spirits of our forefathers. We have made robots. Unknowingly, humanity has already become a robot. And that's why here, and you know it yourself, we go back to nature. That's the message. And the most relevant message, we go back to nature. When you go back to nature, no wars. No wars.
There's, this tradition of what we said is magic, and you say it's actually physics.
It's physics.
And during colonization, there was a lot of, they were trying to suppress it by calling it, witch doctors, witchcraft, and condemning it, and even saying that it's not allowed, and even offering money for whoever is practicing these kinds of things. How did the 12 elders of the Gikuyu seers, how did they survive this period of suppression?
You see, it is very interesting about the Gikuyu seers is that when they realized the white man, that is the English people, were not ready to accept them, they just hid. Even now they are hiding. They don't work in open. It is the British people who made it happen. Because immediately they took Kenya, Mount Kenya was taken as property of Queen Victoria. She took the mountain, and the Kikuyus were kicked out. They were told to leave the mountain, the seers, and go to church. They were adamant, and they hid. And remember, there were elders in Mombasa, Mijikenda elders. They were killed. Colonialists didn't like anything to do with any other religion other than Christianity. They were told to leave the mountain and go to the churches. So they hid, even today. They work in secrecy.
What is their work, actually?
Well, let me first finish that point. There is Mount Kenya, there is Mount Kilimanjaro. Mount Kilimanjaro, since long, was dedicated to the evil spirit of Set. You might have known about Egyptian scripture or Egyptian script.
Set, yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Set. And his brother controlled Mount Kenya.
So Set controlled Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro.
And his brother controlled, yes. What was the name of the brother?
Mount Kenya. Osiris.
Osiris. He was controlling Mount Kenya.
Yes, Mount Kenya. Osiris, the god of right.
And when you talk about these gods, are these like actual people who lived before? Are they spirits? Are they archetypes?
Well, it's very interesting because some of these archaeological work in Egypt, they are tell us that there were usually people. They were people, they were living beings.
People.
Yeah, mm-hmm. At one time they were living people. That's the work of archaeology. That's mm-hmm. proven that they have discovered the grave of Osiris. Mm-hmm. Moving from the equator position of Mount Kenya, Mount Kilimanjaro up there. But I'm saying this, and repeat it, is that we are in problem because British government really destroyed our culture. I remember complaining to an Englishman, he was in UNEP, about exactly what the Britons or British people did to Kenyans. And they destroyed our civilization very much. These elders, they knew things. Even today, they know things that are not yet known in England. And it's the English people who destroyed that civilization. It's a global problem. Wherever they went, they destroyed civilization.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're bitter with it because even now they have not changed.
They have?
They have not changed. It is the same problem. That's globally we have problem.
Yeah.
And it's there.
Same thing, but in a different disguise.
Oh, yes.
Instead of using brute force, it's basically bureaucracy.
Exactly, you're right. Because we could have been sharing that wisdom today.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about the medicine. They taught me about medicine, the importance of medicine. That always give 3 drugs,
3 doses
3
a day.
herbs. The first one belongs to God.
Yeah.
The second one belongs to ancestral spirit. And the third, it is the heart of the doctor who administers the drug or the medicine.
Right.
That is wisdom. Immediately you do it, you realize the patient is healing. Because healing is not physical. Healing is spiritual. Healing is spiritual. It is not physical. These are the areas which you now start learning and applying today in medical science.
Yeah, they see the same things.
Yeah, they should now start it.
Yeah.
They should go back to the elders. What can we really get from the culture? How do we benefit from culture? Because medicine is not mechanical. When you make a drug, you cannot tell me you are in the same field as the man who is making a Toyota car. Should be a fool. Toyota is mechanical, but medicine is spiritual.
So the pharmaceutical companies have it all wrong.
Yes, have it all wrong. It is not mechanical.
That's why you see all the side effects. Even if it's curing one thing, it's not really curing it. It's actually like moving it to a different place.
To a different place. But in African medicine is that you cure and cure. You cure and cure.
Cure completely.
Yes, you cure completely. Because the cause of diseases is not the disease, but it is the spirit. It's the spirit.
When we met in the restaurant before you agreed to do this interview, I wanted to give you a gift. It was a ball of soil, of clay from 60 different countries, and you refused these gifts. Why did you refuse it?
Well, it's a very interesting question you're asking, and I know I refused your gift. It was some sort of a ball that contained different soils from how many countries?
I think around 60.
60 countries. You see, soil is metallic. It has metal. And me being a sage, I'm open to levitation. You could see me here, sitting innocently, but I'm elsewhere.
With your spirit?
Yes. So I'm not allowed to wear anything metallic at times because it will hinder me from moving out, from flying out. That's why I refuse, because you get all metal in the soil. Iron is there. There is copper is there. So when you wear them, you don't move. As according to the Gikuyu magic, you don't move. You don't go to places because you are prevented by the energy of the metals in the soil. I remember I saw you with some sort of necklace. I don't know whether you're having it. Yes. And then you ask, do I throw this out? I told you don't have to throw out. You are not inducted. You are not. You're not a seer. You are not a custodian of a particular wisdom if you are you could not wear that. But to wear that, sometimes the people who wear that is because they want to scare other people to show that they are special. But among the Kikuyu, you don't wear them. Because when you wear them, you restrict yourself from wider perspective of intelligence in the universe. When you wear them, you become part and parcel of the solar system. You should go beyond solar system. So that's why I didn't accept, because I could not, I'm not allowed to wear it, because I'm in a special area where I'm serving my country. I'm I'm within the 13 elders dedicated to Mount Kenya wisdom.
So that's the 12 elders and the one messenger?
I'm their messenger. They are 12, I'm their messenger. All of us, we are 13.
So what would be, for example, as their messenger, what would be their message to the world today?
You see, the message is general message. And that's why here, and you know it yourself, we go back to nature. That's the message. And the most relevant message, we go back to nature. When you go back to nature, no wars. No wars. We are fighting because we are stealing other people's things and properties.
Minerals.
And minerals, especially minerals. Yes.
That's a very simple and straightforward message.
That's that message. It's straightforward. Straightforward.
And what does it mean? How does it look like when many people go back to nature?
The world becomes peaceful.
How do they actually change their life to come back to nature? What are the practical steps to do that?
People should be taught right from youth. I said about Sweden and their conservation. They started it right from school. I come from Africa, and there is no example I could give in Africa about conservation. Why do I talk of Sweden? Because they have done it, and they have succeeded.
But in Africa, there was also good conservation happening. For example, with Professor Matai, I forgot her first name, Wangari Matai, and in different things, different conservation, natural conservation happening many different places in Africa.
Did she succeed? That's the question you should ask ourselves.
I think she did. I mean,
she was telling people lacking ears to hear.
They're planting millions and millions and millions of trees.
Yes, but she was telling people who are lacking ears to hear. It did not go what you call a sort of. It was not accepted by the state.
Well, because the state was trying to be fascist and like the dictatorship.
Oh yes.
But the people were listening. The people were very fond of her.
That's why I talk of Sweden, because everyone, each and everyone in Sweden, is in conservation. Wangari goes, we are back to square one, because her spirit has never been accepted by her people.
Really?
This is the problem.
Really? I feel like it has been accepted.
You see, when I say it's not expected, it has never been accepted. As you came, you could have seen logs put on a tractor just coming from this forest. So it's a lot to be done. Because we fail, not because of people like Wangari Maathai, but we fail because of politicians.
Because it's
the problem we have in Africa is a politician wants to be everywhere. He wants to go on Sunday to preach to people.
He wants to what?
To preach to people on Sundays. The same politician wants to become an industrialist. The same. That's why that's the problem we have in Africa, because we adapted their lifestyles from the colonialists.
Right. And talking about, like, for example, before colonization, about using the magic and the physics of older times, how were they used? I mean, there are a lot of stories, for example, about voodoo, or about how, for example, thieves used to be caught using different kinds of magic, witchcraft, these kinds of things. How was it used actually in these kinds of situations?
It was not all clans who could do that. When something had been stolen in the Gikuyu community, there was a clan that was responsible for that magic. And they could administer that magic to the people who had stolen. So people feared. Even before the stealing, they feared stealing. So there were no people stealing. Yeah. People were very, very careful, because especially the clan known as Ethaga, they were the responsible people for using magic. And they were using magic to control, or they were using witchcraft to control
bad
thieves
behavior. Yeah.
And bad behavior, thieves and all that. The whole thing was good.
Yeah.
What is your take on the current trend of lifestyle diseases, considering that in the past there was what we call holistic way of doing things like farming and even living? How would you compare the soil, the body, and the current diseases? And also, there is this term that is being called eco-villages, where people simply come together and they live like a community. And that is more now in the West. But in Africa, that was how we used to live. And these knowledges and even these different ways of farming, they are simply being patented by Westerners, and they say that that's their way of doing things. How would you put that according to your own context?
Well, that's what we call modern problems. Not old problems, they are modern problems. Because whatever that is taking place today is taking place in the name of money. Money. We go as far as patenting the water that is flowing in the river. You remember very well about the Kyondo basket, Kenya baskets or Gikuyu baskets. They were patented in Japan and they became Japan property. I don't know where they have reached today. That's the problem. People are ready to take other people's things, and that's the problem, the global problem. The Gikuyu had their own Kyoto. It was patented by Japanese. It became Japanese property, and they agreed. So that's where we are. But we are not going to be very successful till we recognize the presence of our spirits. The world has become chaotic because we are no longer recognizing the spirits of our forefathers. We have made robots, and unknowingly, humanity has already become a robot. The world has been invested with robots. So with humanity. So when your question is now trying to help us realize that this is no longer the old world. I don't know how I will put it, how to make people realize that it is good to go back to the root. We go back to the root by realizing the presence of spirit. We don't die. We die, the body, but the spirit is still living. Me, I know, because I have that experience, that within this space, we are spirits, listening to what we are saying. People are really learned with the PhDs, and yet they never recognize that in their presence, their dead fathers are listening. When we understand that concept of life, the world becomes a good place to live. Spirit come always in order to check and balance our life. Spirits are everywhere. Everywhere. And as you go back to our life, more problems with us. Look to the companies making the drugs today, drug manufacturers. They do it without considering the spirit of their fathers. They are the owners of the medicine. And that's why we are taught, like myself, I'm taught by the elders. Whatever you do, you have to consider that you are not living alone. When you consider living, consider the life of a spirit, then you understand the life of God. You truly go for harmony.
Mm-hmm. How can we communicate with the spirits of our ancestors? Because you say communicating with them is an essential point in creating a better world. So how can we actually do that?
Be good to yourself. When you are good to yourself, you are communicating with your spirit.
So
when you are good to yourself, you are communicating with your spirit.
Love yourself.
Love yourself.
So you don't need to actually...
Why do you want to steal?
Hmm?
Why do you want to steal other people's property?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Have that natural contentment.
With what you have.
With what you have.
Mm-hmm. So we don't need to communicate with them verbally, directly. We just have to live a life where we love ourselves.
If you want to communicate with them, Fabri could do, as I said about that man who fought his father. And his uncle came and told them, go to that tree, talk to your father. And definitely they reconciliated and they are living comfortably.
But we don't have to do that. We can just live a life where we are good to ourselves.
Yeah, you could do that if you want to do, or be good to yourself. When you are not good to yourself, it comes to what we call karma. Then you pay for it. If you don't pay for it, leave other people's things.
Mm-hmm. Be good to others and be good to yourself.
Yeah, to yourself. That's the solution.
And then the other part of his question was about the link between modern farming systems and diseases. And how do you see that link?
When we talk of moderns, it is happening that because we are not considering our forefathers. Means you cannot survive without our forefathers. They are devisers. They give us answers. We are not machines, we are people. Mm-hmm. And being people, We have personality. And the personality is a lineage. It has a place where it is started. And it is started from that man in the grave. Also,
And the way to respect that is to just be good to yourself.
be good to yourself. Be good to yourself. Do you know something very interesting, and I like it about Africa, or Gikuyu sons, is that, this is what I was telling some doctors, some friends who are, some of my friends who are doctors. Because traditionally, we are taught, when you get a patient coming to a facility, you first of all give him a name. If he's of your father's age, you refer him as father. If it's mother's age, refer to her as mom or mother. If the same age with the brother, and he's just a strange person, what heals person is not the medicine alone. It is that name you give him. Sit down, my father. Mom, have you eaten? Yeah, I'm okay, I've eaten. Now you're opening. You're going to make the medicine to start working. It can't heal if you are not going to refer to her as mom, sister, or grandmom. When you refer to your patients to that terms, or to those names, they start now healing. But when you administer medicine, they should always three. One for God, second for spirit, and the third is for your heart, light heart. Because you don't give patients medicines with a left heart, with a light heart, so they heal. That's why you get patients saying, I was really sick, but after meeting that doctor, I was healed. The whole thing is spiritual, even family, in the same concept. That's what I tell people. And I talk to people, and then they go and practice it. And then they say, oh, it's wonderful. Wonderful. My patients, I have two patients who are healed. I have one doctor, he's a senior doctor. He looks at the patients and then says, this one is going to heal. And I'm not going even to touch any scalpel, but he'll heal. And it happens so. When he comes, we start laughing. I just looked at the patient like that. Then I said, this one, I'm not going to administer any medicine, but I know he'll heal. That's how we trained doctors in Africa. That's how we trained health people among the Gikuyu people. I've written all that. That's why I'm saying, God willing, if I get a fund, we're going to construct Gikuyu and the Mumbi Cultural Museum, such that different students could come and get the access of that wisdom. If I don't do it, all Gikuyu wisdom will be lost, because we're relying on books, and books are limited. Much of the wisdoms we have in Africa has never been documented. It is still in the bush. Here, it is here in the bush. And it's good of you that you came to the bush.
Thinking about, these states of trance. For example, when a person can change the consciousness from their day-to-day consciousness of just living and doing things to a different state of consciousness. For example, like you say, this levitating, what you call, which I think is a kind of like astral projection, where you
Yes, yes. Mhm.
find yourself in a different location.
Yes.
Some people call it remote viewing.
Mhm.
So how was that viewed in the Gikuyu culture? What can you say about different states of consciousness? How are they achieved? Do sometimes people use plants to create these states of consciousness here?
I'm saying I was inducted using herbs. So it's true to it. Plants could be used. And if plants could be used, there is a lot of wisdom that is unknown that still could be discovered by using plants. So, to me, I know, among the elders, there is a wisdom that they are concealing. Their wisdom, herbal wisdom, they are hiding among themselves. But sometimes, you see, they are not ready to share or to part. So that's why we need to be very careful. That's why I always lament with the way colonialists came to Africa. They destroyed so many things. So many things. Supposing they came to Africa as human beings, they could have learnt a lot. And I know much wisdom could not have been lost. They made the world lose all the wisdom that is happening today. So the whole thing is in this forest. It's only that we are not agreeing to go back to, to go down to earth and accept ourselves. God created us the same. There's no white person, black person, or red person. We are all equal in the eyes of God.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.